I don't understand the love of Hitler that a lot of trad cats have. It's really strange. When I went to the SSPX, I knew a girl who was a trad Catholic, but she was not SSPX, and she told me, because I told her that I was going into the SSPX, and she told me, she said, "Watch it. There's a lot of Nazis there." I said, "Really?" She says, "Yeah," and she wasn't kidding. And I remember going into the SSPX, and we had a priest there from Australia. He was okay. I mean, he never spouted Nazism, and we talked to him about Nazism and all that. He didn't like it, and he never expressed any Nazi ideology. But then he left. He went back to Australia, and we got this new priest who was Croatian. And Croatia is an interesting country in the sense that it's one of the few Slavic Catholic countries, because most of the Slavic world is Orthodox.
Yeah.
But then you have the Croatians, and you have the Poles, and you have a lot of the Ukrainians who are Catholic. And Croatia is one of those countries. And during the Second World War, it's weird because most of the Catholic world was against Hitler. And the Pope saved hundreds of thousands of Jews from the death camps. And a lot of Catholics, in fact, most of the people who were saving Jews, most of the individuals who went out of their way to save Jews from the Nazis were Catholic. For example, the nation that saved more Jews than any other nation was Poland. Poland is a traditional Catholic country. But Croatia went the other way. And it was very nationalistic. It still is. And it pledged allegiance to Adolf Hitler. And the Croatian Nazis, they called them Ustasha, Croatian nationalists, they butchered probably around 1 million people, maybe even more than that. Jews and Serbs. Their biggest victims were Serbs. They hated the Serbs, and they still hate the Serbs. A lot of animosity between Croatians and Serbs. Not saying all Croatians are this way, but I think a lot of them are. So anyway, we had a priest, and he said he was Croatian. And as soon as I heard Croatian, I thought, what is this? I hope he's not one of those. So first day meeting him, we start talking. One thing I liked about the SSPX was that they were very social. Very social. But anyway, him and I were talking. And he says his family comes from Croatia, but he was born in Chicago and all this stuff. And I said, what's your opinion on the bombing of Serbia during the 90s by NATO? And he said, while I do not agree with bombing people, he said, I thoroughly enjoyed watching the Serbs die. I was like, okay, this is weird. And then he tells me that he hates cats. He says, I have a hatred for cats. And he says, if I could, I would gas all the cats to death. And he wasn't joking either, because one winter, it was very cold, I remember, and there was a little house that one of the parishioners put for stray cats. She felt sorry for the cats, and there was a lot of stray cats in the neighborhood. So during the wintertime, she put a place for a house next to the church for the cats to live. And these cats would go in there during the winter at night because it was too cold. And that house had been there for years. So one day I go to the church, and I see a group of men ripping this cat house out. And believe me, these cats were living there because you can see them walking around. And I said, what are you guys doing? And they said, oh, we're removing the cat house. And I said, but this is the place where the cats stay warm at night. They could freeze to death. And they said, well, Father so-and-so told us to remove it. So I said, well, this is not right. So I went up to Father so-and-so that day, and I said, I saw a group of men removing the cat house. And they said that you told them to remove it. He said, yeah, I did. And I said, why would you do that? I said, those cats need a place to stay at night. That place has been there for years. And he said, I don't care about those cats. I want them out of here. I don't want them here. And I said, excuse me. I said, don't you feel that you need a little, I said, don't you feel like you need a little compassion for animals? He says, I don't care about that. And I said, well, didn't Francis of Assisi have compassion for animals? He says, that's just some Pope Francis garbage. And I said, well, you need to have some compassion. And the woman who put the house there, she also protested. So the house stayed there. Uh-huh. But when he said he wants to kill all the cats, he wasn't kidding, because he didn't care about the cats freezing at night.